Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our 13th Science Outreach guest talk, organized by Inspire NT. And here today we have Tom Schelling, how do you say? Schelling, from the City of Darwin Libraries. And he's going to talk a little bit about, I think, well, he calls himself amateur, but I don't think that that's the exact term that he should use. He probably have a lot of more experience than I do with science outreach. That's not probably, I'm 100% sure. As they do that in the library a lot, and they're very successful. So I'm very looking forward to hear his talk, and thank you, Tom, for being here today.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Carla. So yeah, amateur, maybe not the right word, but I'll get a bit into why exactly I put that on there in a moment. But yes, so as Carla said, hi, I am Tom. I'm from City of Darwin Libraries. I am the acting STEAM programs coordinator for the libraries. So that just means STEAM stuff, science, technology, engineering, arts, mathematics, all that sort of stuff goes through me and my team. So just on screen here, we've got a couple of the examples of things that we do. So we've got our STEAM Zone activity, which is a collection of different topics, interactive activities for kids and families to come in, jump in, have a play, experiment really, and get familiar with things. Other things we do, we've got our robotics and coding club, which is a little more in-depth, getting kids familiar with the basics of robots, coding, technology, whatever else we can get involved in. And then we have all of our other fun stuff, which we do through our clubs, our activities, our school holiday programs. So you can see we've got 3D modeling, 3D printing, we've done circuitry, we've done science, chemistry, physics, all sorts of stuff, just getting people familiar with the basics of it. So that is our aim. And there's something said, libraries are still a focus of education in the community. It's quite often the second point of contact for people behind schools. They say, where do I go to learn about things, get information, have activities where I can learn? They go to the libraries. Especially we've found a really interesting niche with homeschool families. So we've had a really interesting perspective of the parents who basically come to us for the resources and opportunities that they can't provide at home. So it's been a really interesting niche and really fun providing sort of things that they're looking for essentially as an outside school class. So some fun in there. Really, we're associated with, in terms of education, as it says on here, self-education, enjoyment, curiosity. We are where people go to find their own stuff. When they want to know, not necessarily about something someone else wants to teach them, but about what they want to learn, they come to us. We have, we're associated with the complete freedom of information. You come in, you find whatever you want. We're associated with the ability to indulge your own interests, your own curiosity. Basically, you could put it as we are the local and physical version of what the internet provides. You come here, you get whatever you want, however you want it, and you share it with the people around you, but on a more local scale. So, and it's really any topic. When I say it, I mean it. If you want to learn, people will just turn to the libraries and the people within them. Just as a question, they wonder, I don't know what I'm doing. They come to the libraries. And I suppose the question is, why do they do that? Is it because we're all experts? No, we don't know every topic about everything. They come to us because we want to share, because we want to help. And the people respond to that. They really love being able to come in and know that the people there want to help them. And so going into that, we're not experts. So we'll get back to what the title is there. As an amateur, I say. And I say that just in comparison to what we've had in previous talks here. We've had people with all sorts of degrees in different sciences. We've had people with decades of experience, how to best reach out to the community, how to best put down this information, lay it out properly so that people can make it easy to read, all this stuff. And obviously, I don't have that. I have no degree, I have no decades of teaching experience, and yet here I am. And people come to us over and over again, and they trust us. They trust me with this information to help them. And so why is that? It's because, as I said before, it's what I love to do. It's because I have that enthusiasm. When people come to me for help, I really want to show them. I want them to know. I want them to enjoy what they're learning about as much as I do. And they really respond to that. You get, I don't know, a bit of a complete loss of train of thought sometimes. But yeah, so as I said, I love sharing as much as I want people to learn. Because basically, when I was growing up, when I was young, or even now, when I see someone who is enthusiastic about something, when I see someone who's like, oh, this is really cool, I'm like, why? Show me, what's going on here? And that is essentially the feeling that I'm trying to replicate in other people. Because we're into this. What is the best way to teach if you're not a teacher? And that is to get people excited, to get people more to go their own way. So what we do when we're teaching, we just provide an entry point here. We have the launch point, the basics. Here's where you're going to get into it. Here's where you're going to start. But then we don't really want to pass on all of the information. Maybe we don't even have all of the information. We don't have all of the knowledge about this topic. So we just really want to make sure that people stay engaged with what they're learning about. So the fun part of that as well, if you don't know everything, you point them in the direction of more questions. You give them the basics of what they want to learn, and then you point them in a direction and say, hey, here's something else. And you get a really interesting response out of that. Because something I've found, when we're dealing with people, especially on an individual basis, and they come to you with questions, and you give them all the answers, and they're like, oh, okay, got the answers now. And it's just like, oh, okay. And so they don't really care that much. They've got the information, okay, they move on. When they come to you with a question, like, oh, what's this? And you're like, I don't know, let's find out. And they light up more when you do that as well. When you suddenly go, oh, I want to know this as well. They will go, oh, I want to know this as well. Why are you excited? What are we doing? And they will then go hunting for information with you, rather than just sitting back and the information just washes over them. They stay engaged with you because they see that you care. And so that's what we aim for. We say engagement and enthusiasm is more important if you want someone to learn something than having the answers. And this is something that's repeated all the time. Teaching courses everywhere will say this. It's like, it doesn't matter if you give them all the information if they don't care. And so we follow that. And just encourage them. Encourage experimentation and failure. My personal, I suppose, specialty in terms of this is technology. It's computers. It's what I do. It's what I've always done. It's what I love. And I love sharing that. And when people ask me, it's like, oh man, how do you know so much? You know, did you do a course or whatever? It's like, I pressed buttons and I saw what happened. That's all I did. Over the past however long, I've pressed buttons. I've broken several computers. I've done whatever. But it was just, most of the time, completely harmless. But I just press buttons and see what happens because it's fun, because I enjoyed it. And when people realize that, so many people, especially seniors, are just terrified to get involved with this, to reach out and just start learning. And so you use the same, so many people think we focus just on kids. We're engaging education for kids. Here's where we get in. You get in as kids and then they'll figure out the rest as they grow up. But you can apply exactly the same things to any age. And especially working with the tech and such, the seniors and adults who come in and they're uncertain and it's like, yeah, I just want the answers, you know, feeling maybe a bit like, maybe I should already know this, you know, and it's just like, nope, get excited. And it's just so much fun for adults, for kids, for whatever, when you see them light up that way with the, oh, now I care. That's the most satisfying part of it. Not that I gave them all the information, not that I'm a know-it-all and I can show them everything that they need to know, but that they're suddenly being like, oh, I can figure this out as well. That's always the best part. And honestly, I find that I get a better response from adults and from seniors. For those who come in looking for the information and they actually start to care. Kids going through school, it's like, yeah, we got all this education stuff. Yeah, they don't really care. Some of them will really get engaged in whatever. But the best response, the ones I'm most satisfied to get, is out of the adults there. Because it's just true of any age. You just get excited and it will be better. So, and in a way, so why am I saying this? Why am I saying that we want the excitement? Because you will actually learn more, even if you don't impart knowledge. When you put out your information, when you have all this stuff that you think this is really important to get to them, you can give them as much information as you want, but they will learn more, even if you give them less, if you give them the bits they care about. If they see something and go, I liked that, then they will go find more without you. And something that before said, for anything you do, if the only thing they learned is I enjoyed doing that, you've succeeded. For whatever information you're putting out there, whether it is a scientific study, whether it is just a basic introductory thing, for whatever, if someone comes out of this and said, I enjoyed hearing this, I enjoyed learning this, I enjoyed reading this, whatever, in the long run, that person will earn far more than the one who got information dumped on top of them. So, I think I skipped something there. Oh no, did I miss a slide in my presentation? I might have done that. Did I? Madness. Oh well, we'll come back to that later then. But then again, so we say, what is the point of all this? Why do we care about getting people engaged, getting people excited? And I think the simplest answer is this loop that we've got here. So what I've been saying with the title of this, I am your audience. Because what you want to do is you want to create more people like me. And I would hope to say, you want to create more people like you. The ones who don't, you know, even if they don't have the degrees, even if they don't have all of the education, they just care about it. They love it. Because I have learned so much more on my own just because I saw someone who was interested in a topic and I followed them. And so that's this loop that we've got here. If you are an enthusiastic teacher, if you let people see the passion that you have for a topic, you let people see that you care about the topic that you're telling them about, then they will start to care. And I said, the people, once they start to care, well, then they'll come back and they'll teach it to themselves. And once they teach it to themselves, suddenly they care. They want to share. They'll spread the information. They'll spread the passion. And they will become enthusiastic teachers. And then we have our cycle. There's some things that have been covered in previous talks, things have been brought up. One of them was this idea of, from Adam Turley a few weeks ago, the idea that there was, in his words, a war on information which was going on. And it was talking about, you know, why it is so important that we get people educated, get people informed. Well, I don't want to get too far into that again. He's already covered it. So if you're interested in that, go see it. But this cycle here that I've kind of suggesting is the answer to that in a way. Because we all know, like, people get passionate about a lot of things. And when they get passionate, they'll fall down that rabbit hole. And sometimes it's not the one you want them to go down. And they'll come out in a very weird place. And it's because the people who led them that way, they really cared. Whether or not they were right was irrelevant. They really cared, and people followed that. So I suppose the most important thing I'm trying to show is if we care about the things that we want to show them, if we care about the things that are really important, then people will just follow us straight down that hole. They'll come out the other side better for it, and they will lead other people down there. And that is, I suppose, a lot of what the end goal is. Another one that was brought up before is it's really easy for researchers to get stuck in their own research, to get tied up in all of the information, all of the things that are so important in this research. And they know why they care about this. And they're like, this is really cool information. Here you go. And no one else knows why they care about it. And if we go back a bit to what I was talking about, yeah, engagement, so much more important. You can be, you can see that this is incredibly important, incredibly cool, but if they're not at that point yet, if they haven't had the launch point, doesn't matter. You can't shove them halfway down the rabbit hole and then say, all right, go. Then you go in themselves. So just remembering why you started, back when you were a kid, or even if it was as an adult, why did you care about this topic in the first place? And when you're putting out the information, rather than, being like, here's the really critical information to this part, I suppose you go back a bit and you say, but why do they care? Why should they care about this critical information? What is the exciting part? What is the part that got your attention that led you to this point? And that's where you want to put people. Because when you throw the information at them, you look like this guy. Trust me, this is science. And like, why? Is it? I don't care. So as much as you'd love to throw it out there, when you're communicating with the public, you need to communicate as an amateur. Because if you're the expert and they're looking up at you going, oh, person with information, then they're not gonna jump at it. When you get down to their level, when you're there, as I brought up before, when you're there saying, I don't know everything, even if you're lying sometimes, I don't know, let's go find out. You put yourself on their level and they will go along with it. It is incredibly intimidating to try and talk to a scientist about science, but just, you're like, I don't even know. Even some of my friends, I've got a friend who is a scientist. He's worked on DNA sequencing and viral stuff. And every now and again, even though I know this guy really well, he'll start talking about the things he's done. And even though I'd like to consider myself a very intelligent person, and though I'd like to consider that I've learned relatively a lot about most things compared to people, yeah, just for myself, just like going back like, yep, cool, thanks, bye. But when we actually get back to it, when I talk with him about why he cares and why he thinks this is cool, I find myself following again. Just like, oh man, that is really cool. Why did I not follow through biology in school? Because this is cool. And of course, then I remember why I go down my own path, because I love my stuff. And when people talk to me about that, I like to take that step back and have them follow me. Say, this is why I care. This is what I love. This is why you should love it as well. And that's the slide I was missing. Speaking off the top of my head with this one. And as I said in that cycle, when you have people who are following you and they are absorbing this and they begin spreading this, true for any aid, you get into that community. You don't have to contact everyone. You don't have to spread your information around because people will do it for you. And again, tying back to that war on information, people spread things they care about, whether it's misinformation, whether it's correct information. Just make them care. Saying the same thing so often, but just make them care. Because whether or not they have the information is irrelevant. If they want it, they will find it. In the long term, so much more will be spread through passion than through education in a way. Sounds so wrong, but it will. Because everything I've done is self-education in a way. I got through school, I got average grades, it was all right. And then I started finding passion. I saw subjects that were absolute nonsense, but I went, that's hilarious, let's go that way. And I gained so much knowledge. People will ask me things. I have an answer for so many random topics because it was just fun to follow that topic for a short time, for a long time, for whatever. That is where we want to go. So yeah, in short, why do we bother with outreach? Why do we spend so much time, so much money, so much effort telling people about these things? It's because you want to make more of me. You want to make more of you. You want to make excited people. And as I said, this was going to be a fairly short talk. I don't have the decades of experience on how to do that best. I just know what I feel and what I want to make other people feel when we go through this, and what I hope you want to make other people feel. And just, if nothing else, when you're going through all of your studies, all of your research, all of whatever, just don't forget that. Because for the amateurs of us sitting here on the sidelines, watching you do this amazing work, I want to know why you care about the things you're doing. Because I don't understand it necessarily. I don't know how this all works or why it does what it does, but I know you care and I know you love it and I want to know why. So yeah, that's about all I have to pass on. I hope you have excellent studies and you will tell me all about them and make me care.
Thank you, Tom. That was great and very passionate. I really enjoyed that. And I think that's actually there is a little bit of that push that we have hearing more and more. So where people, when we're talking about science is trying to show their science. Yeah, there is that point of like, well, try to make accessible, like it's always like, oh, how would you talk to, your grandma about it? But it's more than that. It's about caring. It's like, why do you care? And I think that's a very, very good advice. And another thing that you point there that I'm finding more and more, it's extremely important, is for the new generation to realize that failure is important, and it's completely okay. I think that when you're doing these hands-on activities in the library, probably something that you experience a lot. What do you think? Do you think that it's a challenging thing that with the failure?
Yeah. I suppose, especially in the technical side of things, people are just afraid of not knowing. They're afraid that if they don't know and they do it wrong, that things will end terribly and that, there'll be a failure. And it is actually something, especially whilst it is something that we're trying to bring up with the new generation, we still see it. You push them in a club to say, all right, what do you want to do with this? And they're like, I don't know, is my answer going to be wrong? It's like, no, just do it. And I'll occasionally jump in and do something with that. I will point them on something that's intentionally going to fail. I'm like, what if I did this and it doesn't work? I'm like, why didn't it work? And they're like, well, because you did this wrong. I'm like, there you go. And they will start, as I said, press buttons and see what happens. Because they learn so much more that way. And when they come back the next time and they're just like, I'm gonna do this. And it's like, yes, we did it. They've learned. And you get that so much more, especially with seniors as well. Just the, you know, oh, I'm not technologically literate. I don't want to get involved. And it's just like, but it's funny when you do. And they start to see that and they start to feel that. And when you see in other activities, because kids are learning that so much better these days. And you'll see them when they come into the family activities and they'll bring grandma and grandpa along and they're like, hey, come do this, come do this. And the grandparents are like, oh, no, I don't know. And it's like, no, get in there. And they'll be like, oh, okay. And then the kid will get bored and wander off and grandma and grandpa are still there like, oh, this is amazing. And that's kind of what I was talking about there. When the kids find that passion, they spread it. And then the adults learn that passion and they pass it on to the other adults whose kids get involved. And that's what happened with the homeschool community that we had. One parent came in and went, oh man, this is cool. And they spread it around. And then all of the families came in and they were all getting involved and everyone was just like, oh man, this is something we haven't had before. And yeah, it was just really satisfying to see that sort of thing going on.
I think they have a really quite high participation in Science Week workshops too. You're all here. Maybe they heard from you guys. Yeah. Could you have any questions?
Another question. Yeah, thanks for the talk, Thomas. It was really good. Yeah, I really liked what you were saying about how you have to keep in mind that people who spread misinformation are very passionate people, because it is very true and people are attracted to a passionate person. And I think that is something we do get a bit caught up in science when you start getting attracted to numbers and different professionals and you're looking at this and you're looking at that. And meanwhile, the people who are on board with the misinformation have already told 10 different stories and got 10 different people on board because they're more passionate, but you're still sort of looking over your little data analysis or something. You haven't spoken to a soul yet, but no, I just thought it was cool. Like, it was a cool perspective. Like, yeah, but great talk.
And there's something I'll follow up on with that in a way as well, is there's a bit of a idea that, you know, you fight these people who are passionately spreading information by sitting back and calmly and collectedly being, no, here is what is correct, you know, here's what the actual truth is. But in a way, you don't want to do that. You want to fight back as passionately as it is. Like, no, 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 no. Here's the cool stuff. Here's what's correct. This is great. Why do you want to listen to that? That's scary and wrong and who cares? This is cool and this is going to help. And, you know, because if you just present it as, here's the numbers that say that I'm right. They're like, I don't care. I'm not going to read the numbers. Why do I care? So yeah, spread your passion as much as your information. Always, all what I want to pass along. Yeah.
You actually remind me of an example. I'm not going to cite names, but once we were in this trail and then there was this massive snake in the trail. And then there was a few people already gathering around and this very quiet herpetologist came and he's like, hey guys, stand back a little bit. It's a king brown. And meanwhile, all this, very loud guys, oh, I wonder what is this? Let's see it. And let's go. And then this person was just like, it's a king brown. Step back. It's a very big king brown. And then that thing continued with nobody listening to the person who actually knew exactly what that snake was, because everybody else was louder until someone with a uniform arrived there. Was like, step back, this is a king brown. And everybody went like, whoa. And it's actually can be quite dangerous, this misinformation, as much as a king brown.
Yeah. And I feel like something to do with that as well. People, if you come in and scare them with that, like, oh my God, that thing's gonna kill you. They'll be like, what? Why? It's like, people are fascinated with that sort of stuff. So it's like, as much as well, you get your information across, and then they're like, wait, but why? And always the best question, but why? It's a question I ask too often and eventually start annoying myself when I can't have an answer. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, yes. I am nothing but an overgrown child, and it's great.
Well, it's something I think I was telling the students were here last week. We have lots of high school students coming, and I said, look, there's two things you need in your life to be a scientist, okay? One, you need to be curious, and the second one, you need to be passionate to find the answer for things, you know, things that nobody have found before. You don't need the best grades. You don't need to be the smartest kid in the classroom. I didn't have good grades, you know, and then I'm here. So, and I think there was a little bit of I was like, oh, okay, maybe I can be a scientist. Of course, you need to pass the school. You need to reach a point where you can actually go to university, but you don't necessarily need the best grades in class to do that. And I think that's important, and the whole thing of failure and being accepting the fact that you will fail a lot to get to the answer that you want. You need to be persistent. And I think these are the things that scientists and people engaged with science need to have to enjoy science. Yeah.
Yeah, one last thing on that in terms of like your grades and such. Yeah, just in a way it goes back to what I was saying before with if you care, you will learn more in the long run. Even if, you know, getting through school, it's like you only had this much time and you didn't quite make it to that point. If you still care, you'll just keep getting better and keep getting better and keep getting better, and then you'll be at that peak. And, you know, there'll be some people who come along and they'll be a prodigy and they'll care and they'll be like blasting through it. And it's like, I don't care, I'm having fun over here. But yeah, as well, it's doesn't matter what you care about, as long as you care about it and you're willing to follow along, because you find that, you know, some people are discouraged from following things. It's like, oh, that's not a worthwhile thing to follow. It's like, but they all are. If you care about one thing, you will learn about others. You know, half of my knowledge of tech came from the fact that I was like, ooh, I want to learn more about video games. And, you know, you hear that a lot. But yeah, the fact that I know what this piece of hardware does here is because I know how this piece of hardware affects this game. And now I know how this circuit connects to this part and this part connects to this part. So no matter what the thing is, just, you know, follow something. You know, whether it's mechanical, whether it's even sports, whether it's whatever, you know, you follow something and eventually you'll find something that is incredibly educational inside it. Just buried deep within, there is always something to learn in any topic. So, yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Tom. Isabel, do you have any questions? You can type there. Otherwise, I think... Fairly short and sweet, but that's good. No, this is definitely a very interesting talk, and I'll eventually put it on YouTube. I need to just get organized to do that. And thank you so much, Tom. It was a very interesting talk and a very interesting point of view. And, you know, the take-home message is very important, both for scientists and for those working in science outreach. And I'm just reminding guys that Tom is with the City of Darwin Library, which he is one of our main, the people who really has been working. I think you guys have been on the science outreach longest than anybody else here in the NTU and in Darwin at least, where there is a, yeah, there is a lot there, and I really recommend. There is something there for all ages, and I'm always looking for more things to do there. So thank you very much.
I'll throw one last thing out there. So yeah, if you do want to get involved with the library stuff, if you want to share an activity with us, I've in this last year alone, I've worked with probably half of the people who have given talks in here, as well as a bunch of people who have been listening to the other talks as well. So yeah, sharing that community is really important. So if you do want to get involved, contact us there, either me directly with my email there or steam@darwin.nt.gov.au, which will be contacting the team, and yeah, get involved with the library stuff. We'd love to hear from you guys.
Great. So you have an idea for a workshop. These are it is a place to go. It's always they are always open to new ideas, and I can attest that from Inspire NT myself. So, so thank you very much, and I see you guys next week. I think we have extra 2 more weeks to go before we finish our course. So thank you everybody for listening to this. See you next week.